properties, right? They share the same essence, but they have unique personal properties or hypostatic properties, which don't originate, obviously. So I'm struggling to see what we're trying to reconcile here.
I'm trying to understand. So you're saying they have a one-to-one correspondent ratio that would be symmetric between their essences, right, to accommodate the same identity.
You kind of losing me with the terminologies, but I mean, I know what you're saying, but we just simply wouldn't apply these terminologies to the Trinity, right? Again, there's one essence, right, and there isn't multiple. If we were to confess a substance that exists within each person that is separate, right? Separate substances would be poly.
That's.
We're not confessing. We're not confessing. We're not saying that there is.
You understand for identity to be symmetric between, let's just say, two entities. Not only would that have issues in consideration with Lebanese.
Yeah, but the persons are identical, though. That's the whole point.
Yeah, well, that's the inquiry that's trying to be established, right? That's just the claim.
Yeah, and again, we need to understand what we mean when we say it, right? Is Jesus God by identity or by predication? Right? We would say the Father is the one God by identity.
What does it mean to say Jesus is God by predication? Predication is going to be an intrinsic quality relation between.
Yeah. So when we use predication in the strong sense, for example, if I was to say, in a strong predicative sense, X is an integral aspect of Y, right? The nature of X is that of Y. Right? Meaning everything the persons share in correspondence to the essence is the same. The distinguishing properties of the hypostatic properties.
When you say integral,
integral meaning they like the one being is tripersonal intrinsically. God is trihypostatic, right?
What do you mean tripersonal?
Meaning God is three persons.
Yeah, well, so do you understand that? Let's just say essence for the sake of it. You understand essence accommodates identity, right?
Yeah, sure. And how are you defining essence, by the way?
Yeah, essence is going to be the essential.
Essential properties pertaining to one being, right?
So it's going to be the intrinsic properties that would be necessary to suffice the identity of the subject.
Again, so what you're presupposing is that God, the one being, necessarily would be one person. We're saying within essence, it is necessitated through the one being, there is three persons, right? That is his identity. The one God is
you already conceded that God is only comprised of essence and not accident.
Yeah, because none of the persons are accidents. They are intrinsic to the essence.
Well, I take it you only think, just granting for the sake of argument, that the Trinity exists, that there is no other God. Right?
Yeah, of course. So I'll be pretty clear with my position. I'm already presupposing that, all right, number one, God exists necessarily. Number two, God exists necessarily. He is tripersonal. Right? He is triune necessarily. Right? This reduces any other claim to God being like divine being, right? And so forth. I'm already rejecting that by affirming my own paradigm.
Yeah. So given a failure in reason to suffice, or
sorry, can you say that again? I didn't fully catch what you said.
Yeah, I said granted one is to fail in warranting the proposition that God exists. In the sense or the scope of which would just be the, I suppose, Abrahamic God, then no other God would exist, right?
Yeah, necessarily, because if there is one necessary being, right, there wouldn't be any other necessary beings, right? They just wouldn't follow the.
Well, when you say necessary being, you're going to need to be more transparent with that, right?
Yeah. So do you know what logical modality is?
Yeah. So I was going to ask, what's the modal scope? And if you say logical, you're going to need to derive the contradiction in me, rejecting the ontology of God. That's going to mean how do you derive God exists and doesn't exist?
The question at hand isn't really in reference to logic. It's also a reference to epistemology, right? Because if we're making truth claims,
so it's making epistemic modality, not logical, right?
Yeah, no. Well, the arguments of paradigms, so the argument of epistemology, right? Again, when, for example, I run the tag argument, right? It could be either ontological or it could be epistemic, right? I prefer to ground this up in epistemology because this is the start of all truth claims or all claims to knowledge. And again, you're asking what's the contradiction and you're rejecting this. I'm presupposing that your worldview can't be accounted for outside of this paradigm.
So you're a presuppositionalist, right?
Yeah. I mean, I would run like Van Tillian presuppositionalism. I mean, I wasn't really a presup when I first went to apologetic. Yeah.
Presuppositionalism is like complete crap. It's not taking.
Well, I think there are necessary presuppositions, right? For example, do you necessarily presuppose logic, or do you know?
I wouldn't take logic to be a presupposition.
Yeah, again, but then that's a knowledge claim, and you would have to justify that claim, right?
How's that a knowledge claim? Right.
Because you're making a claim that you wouldn't have to presuppose logic, where you're going to have to demonstrate how you wouldn't have to presuppose logic.
Well, I'm supposing you're taking the epistemic framework of JTB, right, as the epistemic instrument. So given the consideration of something...
Yo, one second. I'm going to go to the toilet, but you can keep speaking, because I'll just mute. But yeah, come on.
If someone else here can explain.
You keep speaking, I'm just going to the toilet, so I'll mute.
Sure. If someone else here can elaborate on how there's a identity correspondent between two entities at different essences, that would be grateful.
Words or essences. It's one essence. Two persons. Or three persons.
Okay. Well, then, if you're going to just go down that route in which you say some transitive method in which Jesus would just be implied materially to be God, that's just going to follow God as physical, since he possessed attribute. But if it is the case, God is immaterial and Jesus is material, that's just going to be a contradiction, given their essence.
No, it wouldn't.
Because we don't say.
How so?
No, it wouldn't. Because you're saying Jesus being material necessitates God is material, but Christ's flesh is Christ's flesh is material within his person, right? I mean, there was an economic change, or a change of economy, right? And so
obviously, a contradiction.
Well, it isn't contradictory because this is like personal to Christ, right? And it isn't that necessarily God's essence is material. Christ's person was material, but Christ was truly God and truly man, right? Gigi?
I'm not understanding.
So there isn't again, like you're arguing this from a position where you don't. And are you ex-Christian or are you familiar with Christian theology?
Yeah, I'm ex-Christian, but I'm not.
Okay, yeah. So number one, right? Like Kirky said, right? We wouldn't say Christ is identical to the Trinity, right? That would make Christ himself a Trinity. So again, like we already reject that position. And Christ being the second person of the Trinity also stop predicating things to the essence.
Well, here, let me do an allegation.
Kirky is driving to get food.
Kirky's a Hebrew Israelite, bro. Don't listen to this person, by the way.
Hebrew Israelite.
I don't hear Kirky talking, but
yeah, it's because I'm a Hebrew Israelite. Sorry.
She's like a non-denominational Jew.
Yeah, but let's just do an allegation. If it is the case, Jesus and God.
I would just simply presuppose that any knowledge claim you have or truth claim you have, like necessarily can't be. It can't be epistemically justified. Therefore, like anything you say right now, like I can simply.
Well, that's still in itself in any justification.
Yeah, the justification is that Christianity is necessarily true, and it's the only worldview that can ground truth and knowledge. So therefore, anything outside of Christianity.
For that?
The argument is Daft Dawkins said it, therefore it's true, right?
Dawkins is a moron.
Right, at the end of the day, right? You can keep going. I'm finished speaking.
Premise 1: reality is grounded in what I think about it. Premise 2.
Wait, so premise 1 is what? Reality is grounded in what I think it is what you said?
Yeah, so therefore, okay. So I think Christianity is the only way, and the only God is the triune God. Therefore, conclusion: I'm right.
Is that premise 2?
Yes. No. I said premise 2. I'm infallible, and then I said conclusion: Christianity is the truth.
Okay. Well, premise 1 and premise 2 would just be rejected, and it also seems like you're presupposing in premise 1. Berkeley's sense of subjective idealism, which I'm just not going to grant that. So that's going to need to have an argument.
So wait. So how do you know?
Berkeley's sense of subjective idealism just posits that he's the only subject, and it's a method of solipsism in which the universe and all mental states that he intuits are of a mental projection for which are subjective in nature. That they aren't independent of his mind, but his mind produces them. But there's also like I forgot who else posits it, but there's objective.
Bro, Hegel was schizophrenic, bro.
Yes,
no, that's not pertinent.
What if
have you ever read Hegel, bro? He doesn't know what he's on about. Like all of his he's so incoherent, bro. Like he simply if you want to read it,
because he's schizo.
No, I was joking about him being schizophrenic, but I would say the equivalent to reading Hegel is like reading someone like Nick Land. Like he's just simply incoherent, right? But like I would say Immanuel Kant.
He's known for that.
Yeah, Immanuel Kant is a lot more GG than Hegel.
But this is like not relevant to the objection. Right? Everyone, it's just like a known consensus that Hegel is like the hardest continental philosopher to read and digest, and it takes more effort to actually dissect his work than what you take out of it. But that has no relation to whether or not he was an objective idealist. Right, that's just like positing like trivial, irrelevant stuff into like the objection I'm raising. There's no need for the interjection, but yeah, like I'm saying, how do you ground subjective idealism? Since the first premise, you would have to make an account for that view. So what's the argument for subjective idealism?
So what if I'm just your subconscious, like you're maybe imagining in your mind, and you're just
you're just giving me a modal verb of like what if. I'm asking what's the argument for subjective idealism.
I'm not real. You're just imagining.
Yeah. So if you're going to be a proponent of the view, you're going to need justification whether or not you're to commit to it.
Oh.
It could be possibly the case that subjective idealism is true, but no one's going to. That's not going to be generated purely on a what if. It's going to need some derivation of some warrant that suffices the view, which is what I'm asking you to generate.
Bro, you're debating your own mind.
So it's the case you don't have an argument, is what you're saying, right?
No,
Because given
that was literally
listen,
a joke. That whole syllogism was a joke.
okay, so it's not the case you commit to like Berkeley's subjective idealism, right?
No, I don't. No. I don't.
Okay,
think,
well,
I don't think.
so then I just need elaboration. When someone says that there's a one-to-one correspondence between two essences that accommodate the same identity, given the fact they actually have two distinct essences that which we can go down that route and talk about that, I'm not seeing how one flourishes in committing to the view that God and Jesus are of the same entity.
Bro, why do you keep saying two essences? Like, we never said two essences. Bro.
Yes, but that's what's being put into question, right? And that's what I'm trying to get out of it. So I'm of the view they don't have the same essence, given that they have two different properties that are incompatible in conjunction.
Of course,
they're not incompatible in conjunction. You're just presupposing.
Yeah, this is a presupposition.
I'm not. That's not a presupposition. If you want me to give the justification, which I already gave, I can reproduce what I already asserted and conveyed why it's going to be the case.
So you say so. It's Jesus' identity.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say there's properties of nature and there's properties of person. So you're trying to conflate the two when that's not what Doomer is trying to explain to you. But yeah, I'll let you guys speak.
Okay, what's the discrepancy if I'm conflating them? What is a property of person and a property of nature?
Assuming that Christ.
Yeah, how do you cash out those terms?
So all the persons have identical properties of nature, right? Whatever it is that
you just invoke nature within the description.
My goodness, I thought I was speaking.
Well, yeah, but you just like invoke sophistry, so I'm going to interject, right? In your description of person,
3 words.
Then why invoke nature? You're describing person.
Just ask me what's the difference between the properties of nature and the properties.
Listen, I'll just continue talking with this other person.
All right.
Yeah, so it's not the case that you believe that God, well, I mean, it is the case that you believe both God and Jesus are of the same entity, right?
How do you entity?
It's just going to be a thing, right?
Yeah, I think. Well, how do you define? Let's just first get that out.
Yeah, I'm not going to do this little seal lining act, right?
Wait, true,
like, no one needs
I'm speaking, bro.
the trolling.
So you're saying both God and Jesus as if they're both two different things or two different,
No, I'm saying it's the case that you guys posit that they're of the same entity, right?
No, you're saying that
not
both God and Jesus as if they're two different.
That's a question. I'm asking you whether or not you posit God and Jesus are of the same entity.
You say Jesus is God.
So the answer to the question would be yes, right?
Okay, sure, yes.
Bro, are you Jewish, by the way?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an atheist. But
how do you account for human knowledge and the reliability of our cognitive faculty?
Yeah, that's going to be extraneous to the current conversation.
I would argue only a Christian worldview can provide a coherent foundation for knowledge, right?
Well, then you can provide the argument for that then.
Well, like, right, in the case of a naturalistic worldview, why would we expect human mind, which evolved through random chance and natural process, to be a reliable source of truth and rationality?
Yeah, I'll be kind enough to give you the prep time while we're talking on this specific line of inquiry, and you can, you can.
No, I don't need the prep time though, because my father Van Til.
Okay, then you can lay out the argument.
My father Van Til, like I'm a Padawan of Van Til.
I don't care about all this meta garbage. Just produce the argument or don't.
Yo, bro, don't speak about Van Til like that. He's a very good guy.
Listen,
man. Come on.
You're just being a troll. I don't care for this.
Bro, I'm not trolling, bro. Like, I'm serious. I know.
Okay, so you said that it's going to be the case under and only under your theistic framework. Can one, under the consideration of this conceptual scheme, provide for epistemic certainty, grounds for which we have like exhaustive truth? That's not going to make sense since you've already granted that the God hypothesis is a presupposition, right? So that's already a contradiction.
No, it's not.
Okay, so is it the case that in the Christian framework you can exhaustively ascertain the truth value of propositions?
Yep.
And is it the case you're presupposing God? The thing. Prior to argumentation.
No, God's necessarily true.
Well, yeah, that's what's being put into question, right? So what's the argument? Do you understand how an inference works?
Yeah, I actually create inferences.
Yeah, just give me an inference for why you believe it's the case that the Christian worldview provides for intelligibility for which the atheist account cannot. Because two people already here admitted they're presuppers.
No, I'm not a presupper. I don't know where you got that from.
Then lay out the argument.
Yeah, so the argument is, right, so premise 1, God is necessarily true, right? Premise 2, premise 1 is necessarily true, and premise 3, outside of the Christian paradigm, right, outside of the Christian worldview, there isn't any epistemic framework that can account for any knowledge or any truth consciously. So necessarily for you to ground truth and knowledge, right, within reality, right, it has to necessarily be grounded within God.
Talking, right?
No,
yeah, it's truth seeker, yeah.
Yeah, I don't care to talk with you.
No, that was him, the guy you were talking to now. He was the one, right?
No, I'm speaking. Oh, the guy speaking before was truth seeker.
I wasn't. What?
Oh, it wasn't Truth Seeker. Okay, it was this guy with.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, I don't care to talk with you. You're just.
Yeah, but I'll be honest though. At the end of the day, though, I think as an atheist, like you almost put yourself in a box where you really can't account for anything. You just
How can
yeah, you're just relying on your own cognitive faculties to justify external reality.
Can you
can't, right?
Well, can you explain how God somehow?
Can we? I'm finished trolling. I don't really care to speak about epistemology. To be honest with you, like I've been
Well, I mean,
but can we? Let's stick on the main point, right? Your point was that Christ is God.
Hold on.
Yeah, Christ is God, right? So Christ is God, but Christ was material, therefore Christ can't be God.
If you want to concede the point, if you want to espouse this like vacuous truth and then overlook it, that's fine.
I don't really care about stuff, bro. I don't debate that. I just simply don't care.
Then I'll just take that point as concession. That's fine. We could get back to the main point.
Yeah, I mean, if you feel your day by debating, then you can do that.
Okay, so given that God and Jesus are of the same entity, right? And there's gonna they're all they're all the same thing. Yeah, when you say Jesus is God, the two relatas between that relation of the is going to be an identity. That there's an identity.
Yeah, no, Jesus isn't identical to the essence. No.
He's not identical with God.
No, Jesus isn't identical to the essence of God. No, like we've already here's the thing, right?
So then you've already conceded Jesus is not God.
How?
You've literally said Jesus does not.
How does this follow
with the nature of God?
Let me reply to this message. You speak to Juicy Costa this real quick because I
mean, you guys already contradicted yourself at this point.
No, Monkey. Look, so this would be the same thing. I don't know what you believe in. Are you like an empiricist or?
Of course not.
Okay, so do you believe that there's a distinction between your soul and your body?
I don't.
So there's no distinction. They're identical.
I don't believe there's a soul.
So your soul is identical to your body.
I just said I don't believe there's a soul.
That's crazy.
Do you have an argument that furnishes that it is the case the soul exists?
I mean, yeah. That if you were,
are you
what?
Are you just positing it on the grounds of theistic dogma, or do you actually have an argument for why the soul exists?
Well, I mean, I couldn't go really deep into it because obviously you study philosophy, right? Yeah, so that would kind of be hard doing because English is not even my first language. So I thought maybe talking about some distinctions that we find.
I mean, it's a philosophical consensus, ignoring the apologist view that a soul does not exist, all things considered.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Most human beings on Earth believe a soul exists. But Monkeyboy, are you a materialist?
First of all, we're talking about philosophers, not.
All right, so sorry, Riley, wait, guys, come on. Riley, so firstly, we don't believe the hypostases are instantiations, right, of a universal. Okay, the universal.
I don't care.
That's heresy, bro. And logically lead to free particle, right? So we analogously, conceptually compare the hypostases to a particular eminent universal. GG. Yo, why did it go off?
You don't get it.
Yeah, I'm just. My question was, are you a materialist?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so you're a naturalist?
Nope.
What are you? Do you believe anything exists outside of the physical world?
No, I don't believe in most stuff. I'm more leaning towards views, but I don't actually warrant.
Right, so that's my question. Do you believe anything exists outside of the physical world?
Well, the idea is that it fails to be the case with all the competitive juxtaposed models and frameworks.
Yeah, using big words, you're not responding. So does anything exist outside of the physical world?
What do you mean I'm not responding?
Just answer the question. Does anything exist outside of the physical world?
I was answering the question. You just interjected to say you're not responding.
No, you're not. You're just. Does anything exist?
Listen, I'm not going to.
Monkeyboy's such a cringe atheist, bro. Just get Danny up here, bro. This guy's like a fake Danny.
I know. He's trying to use big words that aren't even coherent.
At least Danny, he's gonna come up and say hello and shit.
Hold on. Let
me shut up.
Yeah. So
what have I said that's not coherent?
Yo, you just call you shop, GG, yo.
Hold on. Let me ask you.
What have I said that's incoherent?
Monkeyboy, does anything exist?
No. What have I said that's incoherent? Yeah, what have I said that's incoherent?
Just answer the question. Does anything exist outside of the physical world?
I'll get to your question after you answer mine.
No,
what did I say that's incoherent?
Answer it.
Yeah. So what did I say that's incoherent? Listen, just listen. Just because let's say you don't understand.
No. He doesn't have more knowledge. No. He can't even answer this question.
Yeah.
Does anything exist outside of the physical world?
Right after. Yeah. So if maybe you can open your ears and listen. It can be the case that maybe... Can you stop talking? So it can be the case that maybe you're not well equipped with the terms that I'm conveying for which you can't understand what I'm conveying.
You're right. Okay, you're right. I concede. You're way smarter than me. I concede. Now, here's my question: does anything exist outside of the physical world?
So you're dropping a case that is incoherent.
Hey, Jim, does anything exist outside of the physical world? Yes or no?
So I'm asking you. You're dropping the point that what I said was incoherent, right?
Is that a no?
Well, no, I'm not answering your question until mine is answered. I already said.
I already considered. I answered your question. I said I don't understand what you're talking about, and you're
You could have just said yes. You could have just said yes.
Okay, yes. The answer is yes. Okay, so monkeyboy, here's my question: does anything exist that is not physical in nature?
Well, I'm not a physicalist, so I don't even believe. I'm not even persuaded that physical things exist.
So then, okay, do non-physical things exist?
Yeah, if I'm to entertain the idea that physical things do exist, obviously I'll take the mind to be distinct from.
No, I'm asking what you affirm to be true. Will you affirm to be true the statement non-physical things exist?
BG, I don't make affirmations of worldviews, right? I'm agnostic until there's sufficient evidence. Maybe if you listened in the very beginning, I said there's too many competing frameworks metaphysically for which I can make any grounds of commitment to a worldview, because they're all metaphysical and we don't have any epistemic instrument into the metaphysical for which I can ascertain or subscribe to one view. So
you don't believe physical things exist, and you don't believe non-physical things exist. So what is the nature of things that exist?
It's called agnosticism, right? Are you aware of this view?
It's called being retarded.
What is retarded?
Sorry, I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah. What if what I said is retarded? Me not being persuaded by the deal?
I'm sorry, like you might want to restart it, bro.
How's that retarded?
Don't let me up with these fools, bro.
Let's be nice, bro. To be honest,
what did I say that was foolish? I'm not the one who said.
Nah, you didn't. Yo, monkey boy.
You said physical things don't exist, and you said non-physical things don't exist, and you said you don't know what the nature of things that exist. If I slapped you in the face and took your wallet, right, and busted you down,
that's not what I said.
You would be very affirmative that physical things exist if I would have slapped the shit out of you.
No, retard.
Okay.
What I very evidently said is I don't believe physical things exist, and I don't believe physical things don't exist. I never said physical things don't exist and that they do. I never made any proponent view of any position. I literally made it very clear. I don't commit to metaphysical frameworks because they're all under.
Yeah, I know you don't, because you don't.
So what is retarded?
Do you affirm your affirmations?
You're so retarded.
Do you affirm that you don't have affirmations?
Can you shut up when I'm talking?
Do you affirm the affirmation that you don't have affirmations?
So, like I was saying, do you think there's any more?
Light. Somebody call Light and tell him to restart his damn lab, bro.
Do you think there's any more evidence for, let's say, internalism as there is for externalism?
You can't even affirm evidence. You don't even know what evidence is.
I know what evidence is.
What is evidence?
Yeah, evidence is just going to be that which superposes some competing hypothesis.
Okay, do you believe in scientific evidence?
Of course. What do you mean believe it? That's going to be opaque.
How do you affirm it? You just said that you don't affirm anything that has to do with a worldview.
Well,
evidence constructs a worldview.
Do you know what affirm means? It means to take a position.
Do you take positions on anything?
I mean, I already answered metaphysically. No, there's not.
Okay, so you take an affirmation. You affirm physical things. So do you affirm physical things?